Good day, everyone. Welcome to NurseNextStation. Today we'll be discussing pathophysiologic mechanisms in neurologic disorders, focusing on how changes in neural regulation lead to common neurologic conditions such as increased intracranial pressure, different types of headache, and intracranial aneurysms. These are critical topics for nurses, especially in acute and critical care settings. The nervous system is responsible for regulating every body function, movement, sensation, memory, and autonomic processes. When this regulation is disrupted, due to trauma, ischemia, infection, or tumors, it can result in various neurological deficits. That's why understanding how the brain and spinal cord respond to injury is vital. Increased intracranial pressure occurs when the pressure inside the skull rises above 20 millimeters of mercury. This could be due to trauma, tumors, hydrocephalus, or infections like meningitis. The skull is a rigid structure, it can't expand, so even a small increase in volume from edema, bleeding, or CSF accumulation can dangerously raise ICP. Let's revisit the Monro-Kelly doctrine. It states that the skull contains three main components: brain tissue, blood, and cerebrospinal fluid. If one increases, the others must decrease to maintain normal pressure. When this balance fails, cerebral perfusion drops, causing brain tissue hypoxia and possibly brain herniation, a medical emergency. Early signs include headache, nausea, vomiting, and altered level of consciousness. As pressure continues to rise, you may see Cushing's triad, widening pulse pressure, bradycardia, and irregular respirations. Pupillary changes and abnormal posturing like decorticate or decerebrate postures are late signs. Nurses must maintain the patient's head midline and elevate it at 30 degrees to promote venous drainage. Avoid suctioning unless absolutely necessary, and monitor neuro-vital signs closely. Administer osmotic diuretics like mannitol, steroids if ordered, and alert the physician to any sudden changes in level of consciousness. Now, let's move to headaches. Headaches are among the most common neurologic symptoms. They may be primary, with no underlying pathology, or secondary to structural causes like tumors, infections, or increased ICP. There are three major types of primary headaches. Migraine, often described as throbbing and unilateral, may be preceded by aura, and commonly associated with nausea and light sensitivity. Tension type, feels like a tight band around the head and is typically bilateral. Cluster, excruciating pain behind one eye, with tearing and nasal stuffiness, occurring in bursts or clusters. Managing headaches begins with assessment, identify triggers and the pattern. Encourage patients to keep a headache diary. Pharmacologic treatments include triptans for migraines, NSAIDs, and preventive medications like beta blockers. Teach non-drug interventions such as relaxation and cold compresses. An intracranial aneurysm is a ballooning or dilation of a blood vessel in the brain due to wall weakness. It may remain asymptomatic until rupture. Risk factors include uncontrolled hypertension, smoking, genetic disorders, and infections. As blood flows through a weakened artery, pressure causes it to bulge. If it ruptures, blood leaks into the subarachnoid space, leading to a sudden increase in ICP and the risk of vasospasm, which further reduces blood flow. An unruptured aneurysm may cause headaches or vision changes if it presses on nearby structures. A ruptured aneurysm presents with what patients describe as the worst headache of their life. It may also cause photophobia, neck stiffness, vomiting, or even sudden collapse. For diagnosis and management for patients with intracranial aneurysm, CT scan is the first-line imaging to detect bleeding. If CT is negative but suspicion is high, a lumbar puncture may reveal blood in the CSF. Definitive diagnosis is made through cerebral angiography. Management includes blood pressure control, surgical clipping or coiling, and administration of nimodipine to prevent vasospasm. For patients with aneurysm, especially post-rupture, ICU-level care is required. Monitor for rebleeding, vasospasm, and changes in neurological status. Provide psychological support to both patient and family. Educate them about the risks, prognosis, and follow-up care. To summarize, neural regulation disruptions can lead to dangerous increases in ICP or vascular accidents like aneurysms. Headaches can indicate either benign or life-threatening conditions. As nurses, our role includes vigilant assessment, neuro checks, patient education, and quick interventions to preserve life and function. Let's now check your understanding with a few practice questions. These will help reinforce key concepts and prepare you for real clinical scenarios. Try to think critically as we go through each one. Let's begin with our first question. A nurse is caring for a patient with increased intracranial pressure or ICP. Which of the following findings should the nurse report immediately? A. Headache rated 4/10. B. Pupils reactive to light, equal size. C. Sudden decrease in level of consciousness. D. Blood pressure 130/80. The correct answer is letter C. Sudden decrease in level of consciousness. A sudden drop in level of consciousness is an early and critical sign of increasing ICP that can indicate impending brain herniation and requires immediate intervention. Next, which of the following headache types is most commonly associated with autonomic symptoms such as tearing and nasal congestion? A. Tension headache. B. Migraine headache. C. Cluster headache. D. Sinus headache. The correct answer is letter C. Cluster headache. Cluster headaches are unilateral and associated with autonomic features such as lacrimation, rhinorrhea, and ptosis. Next, the Monro-Kelly doctrine explains the brain's ability to compensate for increases in volume of which of the following components? A. Blood, CSF, and glucose. B. CSF, brain tissue, and blood. C. Oxygen, CSF, and water. D. Brain tissue, glucose, and plasma. Correct answer is B. CSF, brain tissue, and blood. The Monro-Kelly doctrine states that the skull contains three components, CSF, brain tissue, and blood, and that a change in one must be balanced by the others to maintain normal ICP. Next, a patient with a ruptured intracranial aneurysm is being monitored in the ICU. Which medication should the nurse anticipate administering to prevent cerebral vasospasm? A. Mannitol. B. Nimodipine. C. Furosemide. D. Phenytoin. The correct answer is B. Nimodipine. Nimodipine is a calcium channel blocker used specifically to prevent vasospasm following subarachnoid hemorrhage due to aneurysm rupture. Last question. Which of the following is the most reliable and standardized tool for assessing level of consciousness in a patient with suspected neurologic impairment? A. Braden scale. B. Pain scale. C. NIH stroke scale. D. Glasgow coma scale. The correct answer is letter D. Glasgow coma scale. The Glasgow coma scale is used globally to assess and monitor changes in consciousness based on eye, verbal, and motor responses. That's it for today's lecture on neurologic pathophysiology. If you learned something new, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to NurseNextStation. See you in the next video. Keep learning, future nurses.